We're talking today with Libby Washburn, the Special Assistant to the President for Native American Affairs at the White House. And so welcome, Libby.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And with me in the studio is Valerie Vandepan, our managing editor. And so, Libby, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you see the major success stories of the Biden administration as it relates to Indian country during the first year of the administration?
So I think we've had a lot of successes in this first year, and I think there's many. It's hard to pick one, but I think reforming the relationship with tribal governments has to be at the top. So almost a year ago, the president issued a presidential memorandum on tribal consultation and strengthening the nation-to-nation relationship. And immediately, the entire federal government started changing the way they interacted with tribes and started reaching out, consulting. We held more than 90 consultations in a 3-month period to talk to tribes about how best they wanted to interact with the federal government. And then we had more than 80 agencies create action plans, with more than half of them never consulting before. And so this really has a major impact throughout the entire federal government and pretty much every aspect of tribal governments and tribal ways of life. And so I think that would be one of the biggest. We also changed how, the initial outreach. We had cabinet secretaries heading out to Indian country. We've had the first lady in Indian country 4 times in this first year. We have held dozens of listening sessions on very important topics. And so I would have to kind of couch that all as engagement. And then, it's impossible to not talk about the financial investments in Indian country. It's massive, it's unprecedented. And we had the American Rescue Plan, where we put more than $32 billion into Indian country, with $20 billion in direct funding to tribes to help to recover from the pandemic. And then just 2 months ago, we got the infrastructure bill, where we have more than $13 billion in direct investments with tribes having access to billions of more funds. And this really is game changing for the tribes. And so I would say that those are probably the key ones. We've had a lot of others, but those kind of rise to the top.
And I would add the tribal conference, which actually was elevated to the Tribal Nations Summit this past year. And is the administration planning to do another one this year?
Yes, so that was a campaign commitment to do an annual summit and to re-stand up the White House Council on Native American Affairs. And you are right, it is definitely helping to move it forward on an interagency basis. So we have all agencies working together on tribal issues. And then we have a big meeting at the end of the year where the president comes and talks about the accomplishments for the year. So yes, that's an exciting thing that happened in 2021 as well.
Yeah, I noticed the president, I think with Secretary Holland, talked about Indigenous knowledge this year, first time ever. And how did that come to be? Do you have any knowledge of that?
So I did, actually. It was in the White House Council. So a comment came in. We were talking about a different issue. The principals were meeting to kind of take the next step on an issue. And it came up that there was this body of scientific, Indigenous ecological knowledge, and what were we doing about it? So we gathered a group together from the White House Council and the Office of Science and Technology and the Council on Environmental Quality spearheaded the effort and said, we can do more here. We have a lot of agencies working on TEK issues, but we wanted to have a consolidated approach. And so it took a couple months to bring everybody together, all the agencies. But yes, it's a very exciting announcement that the president made. This year, we'll be making huge strides. So the 2 White House entities, OSTP and CEQ, issued a memorandum that the president announced in November. And now we have a working group going. We will soon be starting consultation and talking to the tribes about how best to work it into each of the agencies. Because every agency is different. Every agency has a different review process, a different scientific arm. We have USGS at Interior. We have a lot of different science and research entities at HHS. And so we have to work with all of them to figure out how best to work it in. So yeah, it's definitely one of the bigger things that we announced at the summit.
Then it appears that the president, and you mentioned the First Lady going to the 4 times the Indian tribal nations. I just think that I wrote an op-ed about that. I thought that was a very, very grand thing, because unprecedented. We had never had a First Lady show so much devotion.
It is a commitment that I've seen from the campaign and the transition, and then you're seeing the actions of it. I think the president is committed to equity, and he wants tribes at the table. And the First Lady is incredible, and she has just shown such an interest in education in Native language, and it is something that she feels strongly about. And so we just, in early December, she went to the Cherokee Nation and talked to them about their Native language programs. Mm-hmm. And she just was amazed at what she saw. And so I think that, just across the board, you see a commitment from all agencies, all of the cabinet, but it's also strong within the White House.
Yeah, that's great. I actually was, when she came to the Saginaw Chippewa tribe up in Mount Pleasant in October, I reported on that. It was
oh, good.
Excellent to see her there. Valerie, let's bring you into some questions. Why don't you ask the next question?
Sure. Thank you again so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. My question is about the Dakota Access Pipeline and Line 3, and also oil and gas drilling in general. I think there's a big concern in Indian country about those pipelines and about the continued commitment to oil and gas. Can you speak a little bit to the plan that the administration has for addressing the pipelines and this issue?
So it is something that many people across the federal government are focused on. And I think that we're in the process of doing an EIS on the Dakota Access Pipeline and Line 5 as well. And we now have a confirmed assistant secretary at the Army Corps of Engineers who has a proven track record on considering tribal interests. And so I think, he is leading these efforts, and I think this next year we will see movement. We will see movement on EISs, and just know that it is a priority for the administration.
And when you say EIS, what is it? Forgive me. What is that?
I'm sorry, it's environmental impact statement.
Okay. So. Oh, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So the other thing I think that really resonates across Indian country is this growing call for protection of the gray wolf. Can you speak a little bit to the administration's plan for addressing that concern?
So I do know that Interior is looking at options and what it can be doing. I do know that Assistant Secretary Brian Newland is focused on it, and Interior is they are aware of the tribe's concerns, and they are continuing to look at different options of what they can do there. But we appreciate the advocacy and the outreach. We have received lots of incoming from tribal leaders on this issue, and we welcome all of that. And hopefully we'll have more to talk about in the near term.
Wonderful. That's good. That's good to hear. My final question is, Indian country has been waiting for a new leader of the Indian Health Service. When do you think your administration will be able to share with us who that person will be, or when they might be nominated?
So it is a process to go through these nominations. We are working on it. It is a priority. I hope that we have something to tell you in the near term. It is something that is being worked on many levels, but please know that we have a group of people working on this, and it is a top priority as well.
Wonderful. That's good to hear too. Thank you so much.
I think what I'd like to to highlight is, we had a lot of deliverables that we put out for the summit, and we had a document. I know that you have it. We made a lot of announcements, but the work is continuing every day. And even since that summit in mid-November, we've been rolling out lots of new things. We had Chuck Sams confirmed as the director of the National Park Service. We have nominated our second Native federal judge for the bench, and she will be going through a confirmation process. We've announced millions and millions of dollars. So right before Christmas, we announced $10 million for broadband in Indian country. And today, the Army Corps of Engineers has announced millions and millions for tribal projects around the country, in particular in Washington State, in New Mexico, in Alaska, and in Arizona. And so just want you to know that the work continues all year long, every day. And everybody, all of the Natives who are in political positions are moving the agenda forward the best that they can. And so we appreciate all of your coverage and all of your support.
We are so grateful to Libby Washburn, the Special Assistant to the President for Native Affairs at the White House, for taking the time to share with us about the Biden-Harris administration's accomplishments and plans moving forward to address ongoing issues in Indian country. So thank you to the White House and to Ms. Washburn, and thank you for joining us at Native News Online. We appreciate your support.